In this video, you're going to learn how to use variable formats in HotDocs. There are two kinds of variable formats, field property and default, and I'm going to show you how to use both. The first one we're going to learn how to use is a field property format. I'm going to come up here to the separation agreement template that I already have open from using my HotDocs library. You can see in my template I have the agreement date on the face of the document itself. This is the field for the agreement date variable. When I test the template, I'm going to use the Test a Symbol button from my HotDocs ribbon, and I fill in the date. HotDocs is going to print the date as April 21, 2015. You can ignore the red text. I haven't filled in that information. Well, that's great. Maybe I want the date to fill in that way for the user, but perhaps I want it to fill in a little bit differently. Maybe at this location of the document, I want it to fill in as 3rd day of June, 1990, or 21st day of April, 2015. What I can do is I can change the format. I'm going to double click on the field. I'll uncheck Use Default, and then I'll choose the format I want to have displayed, how I want the answer to display in the document at this location of the answer. So 3rd day of June 1990. You can see for dates all the formats use the example 3 for the day, June for the month, and 1990 for the year. HotDocs will display the field property format right after the variable name. It puts a colon between so it understands where the variable name stops and where the format begins. If I test, and I'll just go ahead and test only this section of the template this time by selecting it. I'll click Test a Symbol. I'm only asked that one question. I'm using T for the answer for today's date, and you can see it changes the actual answer. Let's try that again. This time, let's try it with client full name. Client full name actually appears twice on this document. It appears here in the preamble, and it appears down below, and we only have a portion of this document developed right now. It appears down below in 6.2 in the responsible party. What I want to do is expand on the field property format idea. Perhaps we want client full name to appear as all caps here in the preamble, but down below we don't. So I'll double click on client full name. I'll uncheck Use Default. I'll select an all caps formatting. Now I'm going to use a format here instead of word formatting. Word formatting would change the text in my variable itself. If I came in here and I right click and say font, all caps, it changes the variable, and you can see that, well, this could cause a problem. If I double click, HotDocs doesn't quite know what that variable is anymore. So that's why I'm not going to use Word. The nice thing about this is text on the face of the document, so I can undo that. It's okay if I undo too far. I can apply my colors. Okay, let me come back up here. So I'll double click inside client full name, uncheck Use Default, and choose an example in the format that has all capping. So for text variables, the formats have to do with the case sensitivity of the answer. I am not going to do this down below in the table in 6.2. I want you to see how it will be different. So I'm going to come back up to my HotDocs ribbon, click Test a Symbol. I'll put in a date, John Doe, Mary Smith for the spouse name. You can see how John Doe is in all capital letters. My date still looks the same because I have that format applied. Mary Smith is in just however I type it in. If I scroll down to my table in 6.2, you can see John Doe is how I typed it in. So unless you apply a format, however the user types in the answer for a text variable, that's how it's going to appear in the document. Now let's talk about a different kind of format. We'll use the spouse variable for this one. You have field property formats where you're changing the way that the answer looks field by field in the document, but you also have something called a default format. Maybe the spouse name should be in all capital letters everywhere in the document. or perhaps it should be in initial caps, and you want to ensure that the user, no matter how they type it in, the answer comes in initial caps throughout the document. This is where a default format comes into play. A default format is saved in the component file with the HotDocs variable as part of its properties, and it can be overridden by a field property format, but you don't have to use a field property format and change the field everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this field. I'll put my cursor inside the double chevrons and click Edit Component. And you'll notice it says Default Format here. I'll click on the drop down. The same formats that you saw on the field property format are available here. I'll go ahead and this time what I'll do is I'll go ahead and choose one that's in initial caps, and when I type my answer in, I'm going to type it in lowercase so you can actually see it change. Now, with a default format, HotDocs doesn't actually give you an indicator that there's anything there. I'll click Test a Symbol, put in my date, I'll put in John Doe, initial caps. Now for the spouse name, I'm going to type all lowercase, Mary Doe. What should happen in the document is Mary Doe, the M and the D on Mary and Doe will change to uppercase. No matter where the spouse's full name appears in the document, that's how it should appear because we've assigned a default to the variable. You can see it changed it here. And if I scroll down in the table in 6.2 where that also appears, I've gone too far. Hold on. I'm going to just make you sick. Here we go. Right there. So hopefully that gives you an understanding of field property versus default formats and how to apply them in your template.